Time till 6:30. Okay. Thank you, Pataji. Hare Krishna. We'll just get started with Jai Radha Madhav by Padma Prabhu. So all of you feel free to sing along.
Jaya Radha Madhava Vihari
For joining us today, and thanks to the management for giving me this opportunity to say some words from Bhagavad Gita chapter 5. I thank the management once again for engaging me in this service. I am just doing this only for my own purification. So please feel free to correct me if required. Before getting started with the chapter, we just, all of you, if you know the prayers, can say it along, the Ajnanati Virandasya prayer, just to invoke auspiciousness. So we'll get started with the prayers. Om Ajnanati Virandasya Jnananjanan Shalakaya Chakshuru Unmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitan Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. That's okay. See? Alright. Hare Krishna once again. Thank you all. So this week what we are discussing is from continuation what was done last week, Karma Yoga. Action in Krishna consciousness. This is chapter 5. This is a section of karma. So this is the second chapter that we see within the 6 chapters, the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, which is again in Karma Yoga. The third chapter also was Karma Yoga. Now this is Karma Yoga, but action in Krishna consciousness. It is also called mature consciousness, mature action, this one. So why is Lord Shri Krishna talking about karma in so much of detail? We need to understand, because what happens, whatever we think, then that comes actually, it transforms into action, and then slowly it becomes our habit. Repeatedly when we do, it becomes our habit. When it becomes our habit, it forms a character. So action is actually very important, and shaping the desire over there is very important. So specifically in this chapter, Krishna will teach us how we have to do the actions, what kind of actions, how we can shape our character. So what is the path, right path in the action? No one can be without the action. Everyone has to perform action. So either right or wrong. So when we do wrong, we face for it. But Krishna is directing us the right path, how we can achieve him in this by doing these actions. So that is what he will delineate in this particular chapter. So how it happens is in the previous chapter, in the 4th chapter, when that is on knowledge of the absolute. In the 4th chapter, Krishna is talking to Arjuna and giving him the knowledge of the absolute. So that time what happens, Krishna, he is speaking about how to attain peace by jnana. One is how to attain peace by jnana, and then second he says renouncing karma by jnana. The two things he says, attaining peace by jnana and renouncing karma by jnana. So after that, immediately he asks Arjuna, do your karma. He says, do your karma. So first he's saying peace by jnana, then renouncing karma by jnana. Now he says, you do the karma. So what is happening over here? But karma means he's referring, Lord Shri Krishna is referring to karma yoga. Okay? But then Arjuna, it is like confusing for him, or it is impossible for him to accept that both how to perform these two things simultaneously. That is renunciation of the work, okay, karma sannyasa, that is in knowledge, and then working with detachment, karma yoga. How to do these two simultaneously? So he has this confusion, and then it starts off with the question. As we all know, but be it Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, it's always with question and answers. It's more like a question and answer session, be it Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. But why does it go like this? It is for the benefit of the entire humanity. So when Arjuna asks, it's not that he's a dull person. It is for the benefit of the human society, for the entire universe, that such things come. In the form of questions, the Lord answers, or the Acharyas answers. That is for us to understand what we need to follow, how we need to follow, what we need to do, what should be the goal of life, how to achieve it. So that is why we have these kind of question and answers. So getting started, we'll just see the overview of the chapter. I hope all of you can see it, right? So the overview, it's already been covered almost up to 16th verse, but we'll just kind of have an overview just before touching into the topic that we need to discuss today. So Arjuna's question, as I said, he's like confused with those two things, how to do it simultaneously. So the first thing is Arjuna asked, in the first verse, Arjuna asked this question, sannyasa or karma yoga? What to do, Krishna? Which is better, renunciation of work or working with detachment? So for this, Krishna starts answering, and he starts from text 2 to 6. Krishna is talking about karma yoga. Karma yoga is equal to, but easier than sannyasa. Basically, sannyasa is what we all think, giving up everything. That in general, that is what we think, right? So in this particular section, they talk about renunciation. Working in the spirit of renunciation are same. Both, it is the same. Krishna explains this one. But for Arjuna, working is better because premature renunciation is distressful. So we need to understand this is actually a lesson for us. We cannot just because we learn Bhagavad Gita, we know about Bhagavatam, we know Chaitanya Charitamrita, we cannot renounce everything so easily, just give up and give up everything and go away. We can't do. That becomes a kind of a premature renunciation. Then we will not stick on to that renunciation for a long time. It's like almost like a Markata Vairagya, like a monkey renunciation. You give it up, but you actually don't give it up, right? Because your mind is completely into sense gratification. So, but Krishna over here, he'll teach slowly what are the steps that we need to follow. And then the next section is the Nishkama, performing Nishkama Karma Yoga, that frees one from the bondage. We have to do action, we cannot stop it, we have to do. But how that without causing any reaction, any bondage, we shouldn't get entangled in that, right? Be it good or bad, we shouldn't get entangled. How is it? Krishna says in that verses from 7 to 16. This was covered by Maharaj last week. And what are all the topics it discussed? Characteristics of a yoga yukta. One is a yogi, never entangled. Then self-control, the doer or not non-doer. Then works for the supreme with detachment. And seeking purification. Then by seeking purification, he attains peace. But text 13 to 16, it is knowledge of the three doers. Who are the three doers? The jiva, because he desires. And then the material nature, which makes the facilities for all of that. And then finally, it is the Lord, because without the sanction of the Lord, nothing can happen. Not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Lord. So, how does the Lord sanction? Just anything that you desire? Then everyone will be happy. They'll keep on desiring, they want. No. He sanctions according to what you deserve. So, that is what is being into this section. So, the next section It's not. Okay. Thank you. So the next section talks about, this is the section that we are actually going to discuss today. It is liberation by focusing on the Supreme. So if you see, we are talking about liberation, but the main point that we need to note in this particular section that we are going to discuss today is focusing on the Supreme. You need to focus, whatever the steps that Krishna is going to say, in each and every step you will see that your focus should be on the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. Right? So we'll get started. How a yogi can attain liberation by fixing his mind on the Supreme Lord. This involves two things. One is tolerating the temptations. In this material world, with this material senses, we are every second, we are constantly, Maya is going on testing us, or rather, Maya is going on tempting us, rather, But how the urges of the senses, how you can control and how you can terminate the miseries, because anything that you do with for the sense gratification only causes misery later on. It might give you a little bit of happiness now, which is like insignificant, but ultimately it ends in miseries. So how to tolerate these temptations of the material senses and redirect one's pleasure, that pleasure-seeking propensity is there within us. Anandamaya Bhyasa. We are by nature Sachit Ananda. It's the same nature that we have as the Lord, but it's just that now it's covered because we are conditioned by the material modes. But how to tolerate that propensity of this, the material senses gaining the sense gratification, and how to redirect that propensity to from the matter to the spirit. That is what we seek over here, understand over here. So that basically it's from outwards to inwards. Happiness is from within, not outside. If it was outside, all those who have money would have been enjoying and they'll be very happy forever. But that's not the case, right? So, and then in this itself, we have various sections. That is the symptom of self-realized person from 17 to 21. How the Supreme, focusing on the Supreme makes one equipoised, and how to attain Brahman platform. Then 22 to 25, we'll discuss about sense enjoyment in distressful, how it is distressful, it is causes misery, and how to tolerate these agitations till the end of life, and then how you will be able to be delighted from inwards, that is the Brahmabhuta stage, how to attain liberation. Up to 26 we are going to cover. 27, 28 talks about liberation. Basically, it's a preview to the chapter 6 when they talk about Ashtanga Yoga. And the last verse is the peace formula. It's the very famous peace formula. Right? So, we'll just get started. Text 17. Liberation by focusing on the Supreme. And that is the theme and that is the point as well. Now, how you focus on the Supreme. Anyone wants to read that, the verse in Sanskrit? Anyone who wants to read? Okay. Tad buddhayas tad atmanas tad nishtas tad parayanaha gachanti apunar avrittim jnana nirduta kalmashaha. So this is the one with saying tad buddhaya, with one's intelligence. Then atmanaha, with the mind. And tad nishtas, that faith. And refuge, that parayanaha, you are taking refuge. Of whom? Whom are we taking refuge over here? Of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then what happens when you take refuge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Then gacchati kalmashaha, nirduta kalmashaha. One becomes cleansed of the misgivings, of the contamination. How? Through knowledge, through jnana. Jnana nirduta kalmasha. Through knowledge, your misgivings are all cleansed. It becomes clean or purified. And then what happens? Once you are purified, what happens? What's the next step? Gachanti apunar avrittim. You attain the path of liberation. So this is what is the main points in 17th verse that we are discussing. Here, when it says through knowledge, What is that knowledge that Prabhupada is talking about, or what is that knowledge? It is knowledge of the Supreme, Paratattva. In that verse, it says it is Paratattva. Okay. So Prabhupada over here is saying, what is this? Paratattva means the Supreme Reality who is understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Anyone who remembers the words from Srimad Bhagavatam which says particularly about these three features of the Supreme? In the first canto, second chapter, text number 11. Vadanti tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwan iti Satyate. Right? So, what is it? Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So, this is the knowledge that they are talking about. There can be people who are very scholarly, in material knowledge. But does that knowledge actually help us focus on the Supreme? No. That knowledge will not help us because it is taking you away from the Supreme, right? But you need the knowledge. To survive in this world, you need that knowledge. But Krishna is over here talking of the Paratattva. With this knowledge, you will be able to focus on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when one focuses with his what? How does he need to focus? With his body, mind and words. What we call it in short term as BMW. Body, mind and words. With these, we will be able to focus on the Supreme in full Krishna consciousness. So when we focus like this, it purifies us. That is the kalmasha that he was talking about in the verse. Then what would be the vision of the people who are able to focus on the Supreme, knowing the Paratattva? In this knowledge, when they focus on the Supreme, what will be their vision? And how will they see the world and the objects of the world? That in the next verse, Krishna specifically talks about that in the next verse, equal vision. So this is a very famous verse and most of them know it. So is there anyone who wants to recite this verse? Go ahead. Go ahead, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, the humble sage by the virtue of true knowledge. That is the true knowledge which we just discussed in the previous verse. True knowledge, that is knowledge of the Paratattva knowledge, Supreme Person. Sampanne, what is the Sampanne means? That means he is bestowed. What? With this kind of knowledge, what is bestowed? You are bestowed with Vinaya. Vinaya. With this kind of knowledge, that is the Paratattva knowledge, the Supreme knowledge, you are bestowed with Vinaya, humbleness. So, Vidya, if it is not with humbleness, then it is not the true Vidya. It is material Vidya. This is the Paratattva Vidya. With this Vidya, you get Vinaya. When you are bestowed with Vinaya, what does it happen? What happens? You have an equal vision. What is that equal vision that they are discussing? Because with this knowledge, when you see, you are able to realize from inside who is the Supreme Person. Because you are able to see Him, you are able to realize, and that becomes, and when you are able to realize, you assimilate that knowledge, and then that knowledge is transformed into your actions. See, there is a difference between people who go to Gurukul and people who read the scriptures. Doesn't matter to just us. It's not that we read Bhagavad Gita so we are the perfect people. There are people who read even Bible, Quran, whatever. They're reading their scriptures because they've been given those scriptures. They read it, they get the knowledge. But with that kind of knowledge, the thing is they have to become humble. When they become humble, it shows in their action. It shows in their behavior towards people. How they deal with the people in general. How they deal, especially for devotees. How they deal with devotees. When you are associating with devotees, how do you deal with devotees? That this knowledge when you gain and when you realize the super soul, you will know how to behave correctly with the devotees. Then that will lead to the perfection. So that is very important. The Acharyas say if this doesn't happen, that is, you have knowledge, but your knowledge isn't leading you to Vinaya, then what happens? That knowledge is only nothing but a burden on you. It's a burden of knowledge on you. You're just carrying that knowledge with you, but if you don't become humble, it is nothing but a burden on you. So this is how important getting the knowledge. How do we get this knowledge? How do we get it? Not just by reading scriptures on our own. We need a spiritual master who guides it as every step. Because we are so conditioned, it's natural for us to do the mistakes every now and then. But the spiritual master is always there to guide us. One of the spiritual masters that we have the photo on, Mataji has displayed over here. She's praying for her spiritual master who's not so well, not feeling that well now, Krutu Maharaj. He's been here into many of the centers, or most of the times, and he's been giving us knowledge and guidance. So that kind of spiritual master, every one of us needs the spiritual master. So this kind of knowledge we'll get through this one, and our character, which we just spoke, how karma is very important to frame our character, is when we focus on the Supreme, and through this knowledge, that means we have to become Vinaya Sampane. Now what is the next important things that is being discussed over here? Brahmane Gavi Hastini, a learned Brahma, is a learned Brahmana, a cow and elephant. Suni Chaiva Swapakecha, a dog and a dog eater. Pandita, he is a wise man. Samadarshina, he has equal vision. What does this equal vision over here mean? That means you are able to see everything equally. In what sense equally? Because the Paramatma is there in everyone. That is the equal vision. See, equal vision doesn't mean that you lose the discrimination. No, that discrimination will be there, right? So that doesn't mean we can just go and hug a lion, or we can go and hug a snake or a scorpion. No, we can't do that. We need to differentiate over there. The bodies we get is as per the karma that we have performed previously. So accordingly, the Lord sanctions, and the material nature gives us that kind of a body. But those who are learned, Pandita, those who are learned, who are wise, they will understand that everyone are equal in the sense spiritually, because we are parts of the whole, the spirit whole, the whole Supreme. We are part of the Supreme. But then that treatment, it will be according to the suitable treatment, according to whom we see, not equal treatment, right? You cannot treat a scorpion. Here is prasadam, you can't give it to a scorpion, right? Yeah, so that's this one. Though we know it is the same, they're different. But how Prabhupada puts it very nicely in a nutshell, he says, a Krishna conscious person does not make any distinction between species or castes. This is due to their relationship with the Supreme. For the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the supersoul, however, does not make, now this is very important, does not make them equal in quantity, for the individual soul is present only in that body, but the supersoul is present in every living entity. This is where the equal vision comes, right? Yeah. So next is, by this equal vision, what happens? So we go to the Brahman platform with this equal vision. Anyone who wants to recite this verse, the Sanskrit part of it? Okay, go ahead, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. So, Ihaivate Jitasargo. What does it happen when you are on the Brahman platform? You conquer birth and death. How? Esham Samya Sthikam Manaha. Those whose mind is established in equality. The equipoise, the equal vision that we just now understood. Those whose mind is established, they are already in that platform with equal vision. He becomes Nirdosham Hi Samam Brahma. He becomes flawless. What is this flawless? How he becomes flawless? And what happens when he becomes flawless? Tasmat Brahmani Desitaha. Already he will be situated in Brahman. That is, he is a liberated person. Now over here, the important thing, see, equal vision we already read in the previous verse. But how he becomes flawless, that is important. When he is flawless only, he is able to see this. But how he becomes flawless? Because as we know, Paramatma is there in every body, every living entity. The equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is the sign of self-realization. As long as one identifies with the body, is a conditioned soul. Because in material body, what happens, as soon as the spirit comes in contact with the matter, we all become conditioned. So the material modes take over: goodness, passion, ignorance, and all these various times, a mixture of all these things. So we are in different modes, and we are so conditioned that we can only think of sense gratification. But how do you overcome this conditions of which we have because of considering ourselves as matter? See, the equanimity of self-realization comes with two things. One is, there should be no attraction for this, the Maya, the one which pulls us for sense gratification. And second is, we should not have any hatred. These two. Now, how come we are just talking about sense gratification, how can we give it up so easily? The thing is, when you focus, as I said, the entire thing from 17 to 26, the focus is on the Supreme. When you're focusing on the Supreme, what happens, as Krishna says, that Buddhi, Dadami Buddhi Yogam. Krishna says, I am the one who gives the Buddhi. I am the one who's giving you intelligence. So he gives us the intelligence from within. As Paramatma, he knows how you are focused, what you are endeavoring to focus, and with this equal vision, that means you will be becoming flawless. Is the Supreme Personality anytime conditioned? No. He can come as a little boy, he can play, he can do all kind of, sweet things. We call it as sweet. For others, it might look so like any other ordinary child doing it. He does all these things, but is he conditioned? He becomes angry when Mother Yashoda doesn't give him milk. That means, is he conditioned? Is his anger just like our anger? No. His anger and our anger are different. He can never be conditioned. He is flawless. Not a spot on him, right? Not a single spot on him. So if he is spotless, that is no any flaws in him, you are focusing on that Supreme, Dadami Buddhi Yogam. Why will the God give you different kind of knowledge from within? He gives that same knowledge. That is how you also become flawless. So that is very important in this particular verse for us to understand how we attain the Brahman platform. Then you will not have the hatred. It's only when you have this kind of flaws within you, when you are conditioned, all this enmity, greed, anger, all this arises because of that. So you'll become free of that. Right? Now next, going to the next section. We just covered 19, right? Yeah. So 20 to 21. It talks about the symptoms of a self-realized person. Both of these verses, it talks about the symptoms of a self-realized person. So going to the verse, anyone who wants to recite the verse in Sanskrit? Prabhuji's, Mataji? Yes, go ahead, Mataji. Sachimata. Thank you, Mataji. Na prashre priyam prapya. That priyam, what is that? Pleasant things. Na prashre, he doesn't rejoice when there is something very pleasant, right? Overly happiness. No. No dvijay prapya cha priyam, apriyam. If it is apriyam, what? If it is unpleasant? No, he doesn't lament for even the unpleasant things. Sthira buddhir, then his mind is fixed. Fixed intelligence, the buddhi, that intelligence is fixed on what? Asammodho. When his intelligence is fixed, then he is not bewildered. The problem with us is because we are conditioned, we are bewildered. We know only, at least for me, this knowledge, not in practical sense, but it becomes theoretical. So we are bewildered. Every moment we are bewildered, in illusion only. So, but one who doesn't rejoice something when he gets something pleasant, and he doesn't lament when there is something unpleasant, then what happens? His intelligence is fixed on the Supreme. Then he doesn't get bewildered. He's not in illusion. How come this is possible? Because Brahmavid, because of the science of the Supreme Personality, science of God. He's situated, Brahmavid, Brahmani Sthitaha. He's already in trance. That is, he's already a liberated person. How do we understand this? The symptom over here given in the 20th verse, Na prashet prapyam priyam, no dvijet prapya cha priyam. How is it possible? First symptom is he's not illusioned by false identification of the body with his self. This is given in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. He knows perfectly well that he is not the body but is a fragmented portion of the Supreme Soul. In Bhagavad Gita, what does Lord say? Maivamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. We are eternally what? Parts and parcels of the Supreme. So he has this understanding, and then his mind is steady in this particular intelligence. Then it leads to self-realization. Sorry, the 6th chapter is again a lot of technicalities. So it is this kind of knowledge is little like as if you're going into some science. Of course, this is a pure science. And so he is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul. And nor does he accept the body as permanent. He knows the body is never permanent. With this intelligence, he can understand that the misery that what we get in this world is also nothing but the mercy of the Lord. With that kind of equipoised intelligence, he becomes sthira, and he is able to, even if there are pleasant things, he doesn't have to overjoy, and if there are unpleasant things, he doesn't have to lament. That is the kind of buddhi you get, the intelligence you get. So continuing in the same theme of the symptoms of the self-realized person, even the next verse, anyone who wants to recite this verse, 21st? Yeah, go on, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Bahya svarshesu asaktatma. Bahya is outside, external. He is not attracted to the external pleasures. Bahya svarshesu asaktatma. He is not asakta. He is not attracted to that. He is not attached to that kind of pleasures. Vindati atmani yat sukham. He is atmani, inside, from within he is enjoying that pleasure. How? Why he is enjoying that pleasure within? Sa Brahma Yoga Yuktatma, because such a person is concentrating on what? Supreme. This is the theme, right? 17 to 21, focus on the Supreme. So by focusing on the Supreme, when he has that kind of knowledge, the Paratattva, what we discussed, with the equal vision, and then what happens with the equal vision? He is not attracted to the external pleasures, and he tries to enjoy the pleasures within. Such a person is able to concentrate on the Supreme Lord and enjoy unlimited happiness. What is this Sukham Akshaya? See, Akshaya means that which deteriorates. Akshaya means that which never deteriorates. That means that happiness is unlimited. Okay, I think now we have to move faster. Say for example, in your room, would you like to allow snakes into your room? No. Why? Because snakes are poisonous, right? Snakes are poisonous, so we don't need the snakes or scorpions inside your home. Similarly, the Lord is telling over here, teaching you, your heart is the temple for the Lord to reside in the heart. You don't need to have all the poisonous things which will pull you down back and get you entangled in the worldly things, right? So, if you need to get attracted to Krishna Katha, then you have to take out all these things. What are those things? Kama, Krodha, Mada, Matsarya, all these things you have to be relieved of. That can happen only when you are able to focus on the Supreme. Okay, going to the next one. This is sense enjoyment is ultimately distressful. Now, how do we come to this conclusion? That sense enjoyment, because we are focused on sense enjoyment. When you are in the material world, that is what you are looking for, because by nature, Anandamaya Bhyasha, we are always looking for the pleasure. But how come you end up understanding that this is ultimately it causes misery. I know I don't want to ask anyone, we have to go fast. Yehi samsparsha jabhoga dukkha yona evate Adi Antavanta Kaunteya Na Deshu Ramate Buddha. Adi Antavanta, because he understands any pleasure that you're seeking in the material world has a beginning. When it has a beginning, that means it also has an end to it. So it is very temporary. You definitely get some kind of pleasure in this material. That is the reason why we are hankering of this sense gratification. But we understand that they have a beginning and an end. Because of this beginning and end, this enjoyment arising from the contact of the senses with sense objects is the source of distress. So the wise men, those who are wise, they don't want to delight in such kind of pleasures because it's very temporary. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. That is how the universe itself is created. There is dukkha at every step. Right? Padam padam vipadam. It is there at every step. So when you understand this, that this pleasure is only temporary, then you tend to give it up. That is how the wise people are able to take it up. In this, there is a very nice point I just want to bring about very quickly. In Bhagavatam, 5th canto, Lord Rishabdev, he is advising his sons. See, when you run after sense gratification, the same thing the animals are also getting. What is it? The sleeping, mating, eating, defending. The same thing the animals are also doing. You are also doing the same, then what is the difference between us and animals? Right? But human means, when you get a human form, that body, human body, that means you have a higher responsibility. Right? How do we know that? He says it very nicely in that particular text. 22. So, Nayam Deho Dehavajam Naraloke Kashtan Kaman Arhate Vidbhujange. Tapo Divyam, that means human birth is meant for what? Tapa, austerities, penances. Then what happens? Shuddhaye, we become cleansed, purified. Our entire existence itself becomes purified. Then what happens? Saukyam Anantam. That is the unlimited happiness. It never is, it's not temporary, it is unlimited. So this is how we get that understanding. Going further, the next verse, it tells, tolerate these agitations. But we all have agitations. In spite of having this knowledge, we still have agitations. Sense gratification, it keeps agitating. You know, the more you think of sense gratification, your mind and your heart and everything is so much filled with that, you're constantly making plans of how I can engage my eyes, how I can engage my nose, how I can engage my tongue into getting sense gratification, constantly thinking of that. But what is the solution Krishna gives over here? Tolerate. Tolerate this. Till when do we have to tolerate? Till the end, right? So I'll just quickly go with the verse. Satnoti havyat shodhum praksharira vimokshanat kama krododbhavam vegam sayukta sasuki naraha. If one is able to tolerate, all the time of giving up his present body, till the time of giving up his present body, what does he need to tolerate? Kama and krodha, the urges of the senses arising from desire and anger. Sayukta sasuki naraha. Then he will be happy. That is, he is well situated and happy in this world. Over here, we need to understand, in the same second chapter, Krishna also discusses about the karma. And then Krishna also goes on to say in the text 62, Dhyayate Vishayan Pumsa Sangaste su upajayate, Sanga sanjayate kama krodhovi jayate. When we come in contact with the objects of the senses, what happens? You get an attachment to it. From the attachment, lust arises. And when the lust, it doesn't get fulfilled, that wish, that desire, what happens? Anger. So how you can overcome all these things is saying there is no other choice but you need to tolerate. The tapo, the one which Rishabdev tells his sons. Tapa, that means austerities. You need to control. Nectar of Instructions also, Rupa Goswami says in the very first verse, Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jihva vegam udara pasta vegam etan vegam yo vichayeta dhiraha sarvam apimam pritim sasishyat. So this is very important to control these urges of the tongue, the belly, the genitals, the urge to speak, all these senses you need to control. Then we'll be able to, when we control and tolerate, then you'll be able to be situated in happiness eternally. Sorry, there is not much time, I have to just rush. 24th, this verse is delineating inwards. Now we are talking, happiness is from within, happiness is within, constantly focus on the Supreme, the happiness is within. Happiness is not outside. Now how you delight from inwards, how you come to that Brahma Buddha stage is very nicely said over here. Anyone who wants to quickly read this verse?
Yo anta sukho antaramas tathantar jyotir evaya sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto adhigacchati.
Thank you, Mataji. One whose happiness is inwards, anta sukha, it is inwards. Then antar aramas, he is relishing inwards because he is getting that happiness. Have you heard of the yogis going and sitting in the Himalayas in that extreme cold? No any kind of jackets that we wear. We have to step out, we will wear a sweater or a hoodie, and if there is more cold, we wear a jacket, big jacket. The yogis don't. How come? Continuous. They're not even asking for water or food or anything. Continuous, how are they able to? Because they have turned their attention completely within, inside. They're able to see the Paramatma within. That is why they're getting so much of pleasure that nothing outside ever distracts them. Right? So, Atata antar jyotir evaiha. Their sight is inwards, antar jyoti. So yogi Brahma Nirvanam. He is actually the perfect yogi. What does he attain? Brahma Bhutodi Gacchati. He is liberated and he attains the Supreme. Very nice over here. How it compares us in the material world. The analogy is given like of the musk deer. The musk deer, it runs all over in the forest. Oh, I'm getting this wonderful sweet fragrance. It is running everywhere in the forest. Where is this fragrance coming from? Where is this fragrance coming from? It doesn't even realize the fragrance is coming from within itself. The musk deer, it has, from its navel, there is a perfume, the fragrance that comes out. We are just like that musk deer. We are looking for this happiness in this material world in various ways, be it the eyes, for the nose, for the tongue, for whatever we are looking after sense pleasure, right? So we are just like that musk deer looking for everywhere. But where is the actual happiness? It is within us itself, right within us. That is the Antar Jyoti he is talking of. So we need to go into the deep into the consciousness to get into that mood. Now next is the sadhana for attaining this liberation, Brahma Nirvanam. How do we attain? This sadhana is very, very important. This is a very important verse for us. Labhante, anyone who wants to recite quickly? Okay, Mataji.
Labhante Brahma Nirvanam.
Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rishya Kshina Kalmasha Chinnadveda Yatatmana Sarvabhuta Hiterata.
Thank you, Mataji. Here you see the third line, Chinnadvaita Yatatmana Dvaita. This dualities, those who are beyond the dualities and engage in self-realization. That is when they are able to, the mind becomes, when their mind is focused within, they go beyond these dualities, hot, cold, rich, poor, honor, dishonor, all these things. They don't want any of these. They are not bothered about any of these things, right? They achieve liberation in the Supreme. How is it that they achieve? Because they are always busy working. When they achieve, what happens? They are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings. This is a very nice one. In the purport also, Prabhupada says, those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, they are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. When you are focused within, there are no sins, then you are already in a liberated stage. Prabhupada very nicely gives over here, okay, in different verses, Prabhupada talks about this. When a child is lost, say for example, the parents have taken their children outside for entertainment, but the child, he gets lost, then what would you do? You find that child, what will you give that child? Just some food and water, or you'll give some blanket, or you'll take him to that shelters, some homes where they can take care of the child, or will you look for the parents and then hand over the child to the parents? Which option do you think will be the best? Handing over the child to the parents. That is exactly what the spiritual master does. He guides us and he takes us back home, back to Godhead. He guides us at every step. And this is very important. And when we get this knowledge, what we are supposed to do, we are supposed to share it with others. Try and get them also into this path by giving them the books of Srila Prabhupada. This Sankirtan movement is nothing but distributing this knowledge to everyone. By giving a lecture of few minutes, it's not going to change everyone forever. Pure devotees can do that. Not someone at my level for sure. No. But pure devotees. So who's a pure devotee? Srila Prabhupada is one of the pure devotees, right? By reading his books, one can get relief from this and give this knowledge to others. So this is the Sankirtan movement, what we are following is very, very practical. This way you can help Srila Prabhupada in this mission, right? And the last verse now. Can I go to the last verse? Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, so this is the last verse that we are covering for today. Then one can attain liberation very soon. See, the last two verses were very difficult for us to digest. It's not easy for an ordinary person to get into it because it's diving deep into your consciousness, constantly endeavoring it. It's very difficult. But here, Krishna this verse is a very hope-giving verse because why? He says, Kama krodho vimukthanam yathinam yatachetasam avitho brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanaha. In the very near future, you'll be able to attain liberation. This is a very hope-giving one for us. But how do you attain that? Kama krodha vimukta, free from anger and material desires. Yati, he is the one who is self-disciplined. So what does the spiritual master do? He gives us do's and don'ts. Do this, don't do this. Do this, don't do this. This is how a spiritual master guides us in the material world. If you want to go back home, back to Godhead, do these things and don't do these things. He is regulating our activities. The spiritual master, he regulates our activities. That is, then when you follow those things which are set by the acharyas, because they have come in that path, they know what to do, how to do, when to do, what to do. They guide us. When you do that, Kama krodho vimukta. You become free from all material desires, from the anger and all material desires. Then you are self-realized, and then in the very near future, you attain liberation and you are able to give this knowledge to the others. That is the whole purport. And so for the sadhakas, this is a very, very important verse. And how can we focus like this? How is it that we'll be self-disciplined? What are the two most important things Prabhupada always stresses out of the steps of self-realization? The two most: chanting, yes, and Shravanam and Kirtanam. These are the two most important things. That Shravanam and Kirtanam, when we do, we are able to come out of all this delusion and be able to focus on the super soul within and attain liberation in the very near future. So let us all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra once. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these were the main topics that we discussed. The next two verses were more into Ashtanga Yoga, which is the 6th chapter, and the last one is the peace formula. But with that, I just want to end over here. Thank you all very much. If there are any questions, maybe we can take afterwards because we are running late. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for that lovely lecture. I think it was a very good opportunity to think very philosophically, and Mataji had some great examples on how we can apply it. Again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to disturb Mataji during Prashadam. But before Prashadam, I'd like to invite all of you for some kirtan to end off with a little more energy. Very well.